here is what you will need to crochet the tulip. And first we're going to start with the yarn, and for the stem you will need approximately 45 yards of super bulky yarn, and for the bloom or the flower part of the pillow you will need approximately 80 yards of the color that you would like the flower to be in. And I used Bernat blanket yarn. This is a really accessible yarn. You can get it almost anywhere online as well as in craft stores. I got mine at Joann's. And for the green I am using smoky green, and for the flower I am using blush pink, and for the hook I am using an L 8mm crochet hook. This is a Clover Amour hook, my absolute favorite crochet hooks. You will also need a tapestry needle, and you will need some stitch markers as well. I believe these are from Knit Picks. These work great for this project. And also, speaking about the hook, so there is a gauge that is included in the pattern. I am not going to go over it in this video tutorial. So if the size of the pillow doesn't matter to you, you can honestly go ahead and skip that. I know you probably don't hear someone telling you that you can skip the gauge that often, but I feel like with this kind of project it's not quite as important. But if getting the size is really right, then I do recommend checking the gauge. The free pattern will be linked down in the description, so if you would like to follow along with written instructions, that is down below. And why I am mentioning the gauge, you may need to change the crochet hook that you use depending on what your gauge is. If you may need to go up or down a hook size depending on your gauge. So I think that's everything that I needed to mention, so let's get right into the pattern. So for the tulip we're going to start at the stem and then we're going to work our way up. So grab your green yarn or whatever color you would like the stem to be, and start by making a slip knot. And now we're going to chain 6. Okay, I have 6 chains right here. So now we're going to chain 1 more, and this acts as that like turning beginning of the round chain. So in that second chain from your hook, so skip this stitch, and in that second chain work 2 single crochets. So 1, 2, and in the next 4 stitches you're going to work 1 single crochet. Okay, so now we have 1 stitch left, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into that last stitch. Okay, and the reason why we worked those 2 single crochets into that first and last stitch is we are actually going to be working in the round. So now we're going to turn, but instead of turning like this and flipping it over and working back across, we're going to be working in the round. So we're going to be working along this side of the chain stitches as well. So when you turn it, you're going to work 3 single crochets into the other side of this last stitch. So 1, 2, 3. And the good news is with this Bernat yarn, because it's so fuzzy, it is a very forgiving yarn. So if you don't get it exactly into that stitch, you will be totally fine. So now we're going to be working 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches. And in that last chain, we're going to work 3 single crochets. Okay, And this is what it should look like after round 1. You should have 18 stitches. And to begin round 2, we're going to be working in a continuous spiral, so we are not going to join at the end of each round. Instead, you can grab a stitch marker to mark that beginning of round. I actually personally like to work several rounds before I add it, just because it's a little bit finicky in my opinion in the beginning, but you can add that stitch marker whenever you need to. So to begin round 2, in this first single crochet, work 2 single crochets, and in the next 6 stitches you're going to work 1 single crochet. And we're going to work some more increases on this side. So you can see there's 3 stitches here, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into each of those stitches. So now that we have finished those increases, we're going to work 1 single crochet in the next 6 stitches. We have these 2 stitches left of this round, and we're going to work 2 single crochets into each of those. And if you remember, we worked 2 single crochets into that first stitch of the round, and so that creates 3 increases on that side. So we should have 3 increases on this side, 3 increases on this side. So you should have a total of 24 stitches after the second round. So after round 2, this is where I like to add a stitch marker, and now we're going to work 1 single crochet into every stitch all the way around, and we're going to keep single crocheting into every stitch until we have a total of 12 rounds. I have just finished round 12, so now it is time to work the actual tulip flower or bloom, and we're going to add in our second color. And when I'm adding in a new color, I do like to slip stitch into that first stitch just so it's a little bit more even and you don't notice the transition as much. And when I am adding in a new color through a slip stitch, what I like to do to create a really clean transition is to insert my hook into that first stitch, yarn over, pull back through, and before I pull through that next stitch as well, I'm going to take my second color and just fold it in half and kind of yarn over, you could say, onto the hook. And now I'm going to pull through both of those loops and pull that tight, and as you can see, that creates a really nice clean transition. And I just clipped the green yarn because we are done with that, so we can just tuck that into the inside so it is out of the way. And now you can chain 1, and from here on we will be working in a continuous spiral again. And actually I'm going to take out this stitch marker just so you can see a little bit better just for this round, then I'll put it back in. So we're going to work 1 single crochet into every stitch, but we're going to be working in the back loop only. So normally you would be working through both of these loops right here, but for this round we're only going to be working through that back loop right here. So you can go ahead and work that slip stitch. So again, you can kind of see the front loop is right here, the back loop is right back here. We're only going to be working into that back loop for this round. So I am at the end of this round, so now I'm just going to work directly into that first stitch of this round to continue. Again, from here on out, we're going to continue working in a continuous spiral. So in this first stitch, we are going to be working 2 single crochets. Okay, so I have that first stitch, and before I forget, I'm going to put my stitch marker back into that stitch, and we're going to work some increases, so they're going to work the same how we did them down here. So we're going to only be working increases on the sides right here, and it's going to help the shape of the tulip to come out this way when the increases are only on the sides. So to start the increases, I already have 1 single crochet in that first stitch, and we're going to work 1 more. And then in the next stitch, we're going to work 1 single crochet. And then in that next stitch, we're going to work 2 single crochets. So now we're going to work 1 single crochet into the next 7 stitches until we've reached the other side. Okay, so now I'm at the other side. So now we're going to work 2 single crochets into that next stitch, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets, and then 1 single crochet into that next stitch, and then in this last stitch we're going to work our last increase for this side. So basically on both sides you should have an increase of 2 single crochets. So how the increases are going to work for the tulip bloom is 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, and then 2. So we should have a total of 3 increase stitches on both sides of the tulip, and we're going to finish the increases at the end of this round on the other side. And this is to keep it from not ruffling too much, and it's a little bit more of a subtle increase by having that 1 stitch dividing the increases. So now we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch until we have 2 stitches left of this round. So I have 2 stitches left. So in this first stitch, work 2 single crochets, and then in that last stitch, you're just going to work 1. So that is the first round of increases for the tulip. For this next round, the placement of the increases are going to be a little bit different just because the nature of crochet, the stitches, they slide over. What I'm more concerned about instead of the numbers lining up is where the increases are in relation to the side of the tulip. So you want them to be as even as possible. So we're still going to be working a total of 3 increases on either side. So it's just going to shift over 1. And if that doesn't make sense, don't worry, I will show you what I'm talking about. So in that first stitch, work 1 single crochet, and then in that next stitch, you're going to work 2. And in that next stitch, you're going to work 1, and then in the stitch after that, you are going to work 2. Okay, and then we're going to add in our last increase for this round when we come back around. So now we're going to work 1 single crochet into the next 10 stitches. Now we are going to work the increases on this side. I'm sure I don't need to tell you what to do, but you're going to work 2 single crochets in one stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and you're going to repeat that for a total of 3 increases on that side. So I've just finished the increases, so now I'm going to work 1 single crochet into every stitch until I have reached the last stitch of this round. Okay, here is the last stitch of my round. So now I'm going to work 2 single crochets into this stitch to finish the increases on this side. So now we're going to do 1 more round of increases, and in this first stitch I've already worked 1 stitch, and we're going to work 1 more stitch. So in this first stitch I've already worked 1 single crochet, and we're going to work 1 more into that stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 2 single crochets into the stitch after that, and We are going to repeat it one more time. So we're going to do all of the increases at the beginning of the round. So I'm going to work one more single crochet and then 2 more single crochets. So now we're going to work 1 single crochet into the next 13 stitches. So now we're going to work our increases of 2 single crochets into 1 stitch, 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and repeat that for a total of 3 increases. I guess I should look at my pattern more because we do actually have 1 more round of increases. So in this first stitch, we're going to work 1 single crochet, and we're actually going to work 1 single crochet into that next stitch, and then we're going to do all of the increases for this side of the tulip, and we're going to work 15 single crochets across, do the increases on the other side, and then work 1 single crochet in the rest of the stitches until you have reached the end of the round. So I will actually see you after I have finished this round. So I've just finished the 4th round of the tulip. This is the last round of increases, and this is what it should look like. You can kind of see it flaring out on the sides. This is what it should look like, and I also moved up my stitch marker. So now we're just going to work 1 single crochet, and you're going to keep going until you have a total of 30 rounds, which that round count does include the rounds that we did here on the stem. And I should also mention that you should end up with 48 stitches after completing this round. So once you have a total of 30 rounds, I will see you, and we're going to work the top of the tulip. This is what the tulip should look like after completing all of the rounds for the flower. I'm going to go ahead and stuff this off screen, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to work on crocheting the petals that go up on the top. So now I have stuffed the tulip. Okay, and this is a little tricky to get into frame, but we're going to divide this top area into 3 sections because there is 3 petals on this tulip. So what you're going to do is grab a couple of stitch markers, and we're going to use these stitch markers to divide the tulip into sections. So to do the petals for the tulip, we're going to be dividing this top area into 3 sections, and we're going to be using our stitch markers to do that. So you're going to want 16 stitches in each section. So what you're going to do is I like to just fold this in half, and I like to just count around 16 stitches to make sure that there are 16 stitches in this section. This is the 16th stitch right here. So there are 16 stitches here. So I'm just going to hold the first stitch and the 16th stitch together like this. And then I'm going to grab my stitch marker, and I'm just going to insert it through both of those stitches like this. And then I'm going to fasten that off. So then it's going to hold these together like this. So now we're going to do the exact same thing over here. We're just going to count out the stitches here to make sure there are 16, double count here to make sure there should be 8 stitches on either side of this section right here. And this is what it looks like. So again, I have 16 stitches in each of these sections right here, and we're going to work the petal in this one first because this is where our yarn is already attached. To begin round 1, going to chain 1. So I did slip stitch into that first stitch, so we just have a clean edge to work with, and we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into each of these stitches in this section. So this is a little bit hard to see, but I have worked around like this, and just a moment ago I did say to work 16 stitches around. You're actually only going to be working 15. I meant to say 15, but I said 16 instead. And the reason why you're going to have 15 stitches, even though there are 16 stitches in this round, is because we're going to work through both this stitch and this stitch at the same time. So we are kind of decreasing one stitch. So what you're going to do is insert your hook into that stitch, and you're also going to insert it into the stitch on the other side where the stitch marker is connected. So you're going to be working through both of those stitches where the stitch marker is. And you're just going to be working one single crochet into that stitch. Okay, so now I am back around and I have 15 stitches in this round. So for round 2, we're going to work one single crochet decrease over the first 2 stitches. So you're going to insert your hook into that first stitch, yarn over, pull through. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Insert your hook into that next stitch, yarn over, pull through. You should have 3 loops on your hook and pull through all of those loops. So that is a single crochet together or single crochet decrease, however you like to call it. And now we're going to work one single crochet into the next 3 stitches. And we're going to repeat the same thing. So one single crochet together and then 3 single crochets, and you're going to repeat that around until you have reached the end of the round. So I am now back around to the beginning of the round. You should have 12 stitches here. So for round 3, we're going to work one single crochet together over those 2 stitches and then one single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and you're going to repeat that around. So it should start to form a petal. So now for round 4, we're going to work one single crochet together and then one single crochet into the next stitch, and we're going to repeat that around. Okay, and as you can see right here, this is what the petal should look like. We don't have that many stitches left at the top. So now I'm going to take some stuffing and I'm going to stuff this petal. You can insert the stuffing through this hole at the top. For the first 2 petals, I actually think it's easier to go through the space that we have here to stuff the petal. I feel like you're able to get more in that way. So I just stuffed this petal, and we're going to work one more round, and we're just going to be working 3 single crochets together all the way around, and this is what it should look like. So I'm going to go ahead and break this yarn, and I do like to leave a little bit of a tail, and I will show you why in just a second. But now we're going to move on to this next petal that will be right in the middle. So we're going to be doing the exact same thing that we did for the first petal, but because it is a little bit different because it's in the middle, I am going to show you how to start it. So I like to start it on one of the sides. It doesn't really matter where. I just don't like to start it like at the very beginning where those stitches connect. So I like to start a couple stitches in. So I'm just going to connect my yarn, then chain 1, and we're just going to be working one single crochet into every stitch. And with this middle one, because it is right in the middle here, you are going to be working through 2 stitches on either side of this petal. So this first one, we're going to be doing the same thing, and because we're technically going to be having one less stitch because we're working through 2 on either side, because if you remember with this one we had 16 stitches, but because we worked through 2 stitches here, that decreased to 15. I like to work one extra stitch, so we're working through the exact same stitches that are over here on this side, just so then we maintain 15 stitches. And again over here I'm going to be working through those same stitches right there. Okay, so now I have 15 stitches, in this section, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing that I did for this petal, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did for this first petal. So if you want, you can rewind the video to when I did this first petal, or you can also go to the pattern and read the instructions there. And once you complete this petal, you're going to do the exact same thing. So you're going to connect the yarn over here, and you're going to repeat the exact same thing that you did for these two petals. Okay, so I finished all of the petals and I went ahead and wove in all of the ends. This is what it looks like, super cute. And now I'm going to show you how to crochet the leaves that will go on the stem. Now to crochet the leaves, you're going to take your green yarn again, and we're going to start by making a magic circle and then chain 1 and work 6 single crochets into this circle. Okay, so now I have 6 single crochets. So now I'm just going to pull this tight to close that circle. And again, we're not going to be joining, we're just going to be working in a continuous spiral. So to begin round 2, in that first single crochet, work 2 single crochets. So 1, 2, and then in that next stitch, you're going to work 2 more single crochets. And in the rest of the stitches for this round, you're going to work 1 single crochet. Okay, so that is round 2. So for round 3, we're going to work 1 single crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to work 2 single crochets into the next 2 stitches. Okay, so I just worked my 2 increases. So now we're going to work 1 single crochet into the rest of the stitches. Okay, now for round 4, we're going to work 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches, and then 2 single crochets into the next 2 stitches. And I'm sure you've guessed it, now we're just going to work 1 single crochet into the rest of the stitches. Okay, now to begin round 5, 1 single crochet into the first 3 stitches, and 2 single crochets into the next 2 stitches, and 1 single crochet into the rest of the stitches. Now round 6 is our last round. So now we're going to work 1 single crochet into the next 4 stitches, then 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches, and finally work 1 single crochet into the rest of the stitches around. I have just repeated round 6, so now you can slip stitch into that first stitch, and then you want to leave a pretty long tail, about 16 to 18 inches, because we will be sewing this onto the tulip. Okay, so this is what it should look like. You can see all of the increases on this side of the tulip, and then you'll want to work 1 more leaf for the other side of the tulip, and then we can sew them on. Now that we have our 2 leaves, we can go ahead and sew them onto the stem. First, I like to take a little bit of stuffing, and I'm just going to lightly stuff the leaf, because the more you stuff it, the harder it is to sew it on. What we're going to do is we're going to sew it on like this. So you can see that the increases are along this edge. You can kind of see how it elongates towards this way. So this is going to be how we're going to seam it on. And for placement, I like to sew it in the middle of the side. And I also like to sew it on 2 rows down from the top of the stem. This right here is where I'm going to seam it on, and it's a little bit tricky to get it started, but I am going to show you how I like to start it. So again, I'm just going to line this up in the middle of the side and 2 rows down, and I know this is going to be a little bit hard to see, but once I get this attached, then I can pull it up and show you better. So what I like to do is just insert my needle into a couple stitches of the stem and pull it back up through a stitch on the leaf. I will just pull that through like this. So I like to do a whip stitch around. So again, going to insert my needle through one of the stitches on the stem and then pull it through one of the stitches on the leaf and pull that through. And really you're just going to whip stitch it all the way around until it is attached. The beauty of this yarn is you don't see the seaming at all. It blends in so nicely, which is really good because then you don't see any of the sewing. Okay, and here is the finished tulip. So adorable and so cute and perfect for spring. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it helpful. Again, the written instructions are linked down below in case you need to reference those as well. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and I will see you in my next video.